Rough Trade is giving away a third of the first 3 months of the Rough Trade Club plus new music membership exclusively to 101 Part-Time Jobs listeners. Become a member of Rough Trade Club New Music and you'll receive the Rough Trade Album of the Month straight to your door every month on an exclusive vinyl pressing with bonus material. Club members have received exclusive pressings of albums from Sufjan Stevens, Sprints, The Last Dinner Party, English Teacher, and Over Mono, just to name a few, this past year alone. Sign up using the promo code CLUB101POD and you'll get Rough Trade's Album of the Month, Camera Obscura's Look to the East, Look to the West for a third of the usual price. By signing up, you'll be getting Rough Trade's exclusive issue of the album on opaque purple in a gatefold sleeve, plus a bonus CD containing 5 demos. Don't want the album of the month but still want all the benefits? Sign up to the standard tier using Club 101 Pod and you'll still get the first month free. You'll also get free shipping on all orders, 10% off at the bar and on secondhand vinyl in store, and exclusive access to sold out Rough Trade events. So don't hang around. Head to roughtrade.com/club and sign up with the code CLUB101POD. That's CLUB101POD and claim money off Rough Trade's Album of the Month today. This offer is for UK residents only. Do you play in bands? I did for the longest time. And I wish that I knew that DistroKid was a thing. I don't even think it existed back then. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of your royalties and earnings. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all the major streaming services. When you get DistroKid, you can see a DistroKid bank and withdraw your earnings. You get notified when you've earned royalties and you can withdraw via the app. And you can even check your streaming stats on Spotify and Apple. Get 30% off your first year on DistroKid by going to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. 30% off for your first year. That's not bad. We know it's a tough world out there. Why don't you make it easier for yourself? And to get 30% off that free year as an artist, where you get 100% of your royalties and earnings, go to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. All right, stay with me. I'll be right back after this.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
I'm 100 hour part-time jobs. I'm 100 hour part-time jobs. I've been working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 101. 101. All right, listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs. I'm Giles Bidder, and this is where we hear from artists about exactly how they're able to do the thing that we know them for. The making the records, the touring, and the life in between. Independent artists right now have it harder than it's ever been. MPs have even recommended a music levy where stadium and arena gigs, for every ticket sold, they give £1 to independent venues and independent artists in the UK. So something's being done about it, but there are people here. There are actual lives of folk who have been doing this for so many years on a shoestring budget, on a bootstrap, and those are the stories that I'm trying to get. Thanks for listening. This is episode 353, and we're with Lottie from Goat Girl, just about to release their third album, Below the Waist. They've released a couple of tracks from it, and it sounds excellent. Motorway and Ride Around. Ride Around has a lovely video shot in a really beautiful, aesthetically pleasing estate in South London. We talk about that here. We talk about the songwriting, how it changed for this record. It's all to come. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe. We put out 2 episodes every week. We got some amazing guests coming up, 350 or so episodes to go back to, so lots for you to discover if this is your first time listening. Thanks for being here. Shout out to our everlasting sponsors, 2000 Trees, happening in Cheltenham in July, 10th to the 13th of July. You can get your ticket now and see bands like Spanish Love Songs, Hot Mulligan, Better Lovers, Turnover, Empire State Bastard, Crawlers, so many incredible bands at 2000 Trees this year. If you haven't got your ticket but you want to go, head to 2000trees.co.uk, and with the voucher code 101pod, you can get 50 quid straight off your weekend ticket. That's at 2000trees.co.uk using the voucher code 101pod. All right, coming up, it's Lottie from Goat Girl. 101 part-time. My anxiety's kind of got more intense as I get older, which is a funny thing. Kind of annoyed about it. What's your story?
To be fair, I was actually quite anxious even doing this, to be honest. Like, I kind of hate attention, but I'm also in a job in which attention is sort of the main, not the main thing, but, you know, performing, for example, everyone's watching you. And, you know, that's kind of my idea of hell. At the same time, it's like something that's like second nature. And like you go to like this autopilot kind of mode of like playing, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's like on my birthday, for example, like I kind of hate someone, like people singing happy birthday to me in like public or something, or like making a big deal out of it. I'm like, oh, please just leave me alone. But, at the same time, I kind of want it. So I don't know what I want.
Has that been something, because Goat Girl started in 2016, the first album came out in 2018. At this point, you know, 6, 7, 8 years, is those ideas of that, I mean, it's a tension between, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, you tell me, but, you know, having this desire to create, having this need to create, but also kind of navigating, learning, dealing with everything that comes along with that. Is that kind of a pretty, you know, a big idea that you've let yourself think about? Have you tried to ignore it?
Yeah, you kind of can't help but think about it. But I guess there's not like a guidebook that's given to you at the beginning, being like, this is how you do this and this is how you do that. It's all very much like learn as you go. And luckily I'm in a band of friends and we've remained friends throughout this whole process by miracle. But we all support each other, so it doesn't feel like you're out there on your own kind of thing. Which I think is something that I need for sure. And I think we all feel the same. All you can do is sort of like react to the present and take that to fuel the future, I guess. I don't know. There's been so many times where I've been like so nervous or so anxious after a performance, and it's just like, this is meant to be fun. Like, and for the most part, it is really fun. But I guess when you're like performing bigger shows, there's like a pressure of all these people coming to watch you, having paid money, and all you want to do is like the best job possible. But there's like the pressure that you not only put on yourself, but like, I guess, project other people's kind of idea of you onto yourself as well. So then, yeah, there's like all these things. You can tell I'm a really anxious person. Yeah.
So you get nervous after shows?
Well, sometimes. I remember like we were playing in Germany once, and I don't really tend to do much sort of crowd interaction. I do it when I feel like it's necessary and when I feel like I'm in the mood for it, which I think is the best kind of way to go about it, because otherwise I'm just, I don't know, saying things that I don't really mean. And I like to feel authentic in performing. And anyway, I don't know why I said this, but we were in Berlin performing and I just started trying to speak in German, talking about like that sausage curry thing that they eat over there.
Currywurst. Love it.
And didn't go very well. Obviously, like no one really laughed because they were like, this is a fucking shit version of our language and please stop trying to pretend like you know how to talk to us. And I just came off the stage and just like, well, actually, like after I said it, I sort of started having a bit of a panic attack. And I don't know, like, yeah, I really just sort of spun out a bit. And so, yeah, I guess moral of the story is don't do that. Don't talk about curry.
At least you're trying, you know, because I think most bands go over there and they're like, what is up? You know,
yeah.
How's your night going?
Yeah. No, I learned a phrase on Google Translate and just kept saying it. So I'm sure they appreciated that.
I think with Goat Girl, because this is your third record, and I feel like you've put out more records than that. Does it feel for you like it's been longer than 3 albums?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I feel like we, for some reason, have always taken 3 years to like release the next album. And in that time frame, of course, like there's so much going on, and it's not just writing, it's, you know, performing in other people's projects as well, and like, yeah, doing other things, life, all of that. I kind of feel like it would be nice to exist in a musical sense where you can just like release everything as it comes. But also we're like really kind of like, I don't know, pedantic, maybe that's not the right word, but just like quite anal about just like having the like perfect sounding record. That I don't think perfection necessarily exists, but like when you have the ability to work for a really long time on something, it's nice to take that for all it's worth and just like go as far as you can with it. But yeah, it just kind of means that people are sort of like waiting around for us to release something. And someone said like when we released this single, they were like on the comments, oh, this is such good news that you've got a song out. I thought you guys had disbanded. Which I guess makes sense as well, as because we don't really post on Instagram that much. We're just kind of awful on the internet. Like the engagement sucks on our behalf. We're trying though. But
well, it's nice to think that you could exist as a band or an artist and not have to use Instagram.
I don't think we're allowed to do that though. Like there's people that get annoyed at us for doing that.
That time to think and like have those deep thoughts and on perhaps you'd been, is it you that had been reading a lot of Octavia E. Butler, you know, dystopian novels, and it takes time to let that stuff like percolate or whatever, you know, like that time to, you know, let your brain breathe with that stuff. And so having that time and, like you say, to, you know, to give you to be anal and to be particular about it, is that one of the like the main jobs that it comes with playing music, like allowing yourself time, trying to create the time where you can let all that stuff circle around each other and, you know, before the music?
I think that's kind of why it takes so long, because also I want the record to speak in a kind of limitless way where I can still attach myself to ideas like years later, and I don't feel like, I don't know, they're like of the moment, but they're still relatable in a sense. And I feel like it takes time to figure out what that is. And especially with this record, I don't know, there was just like this whole period in which we could have that time to really think about what those concepts were that we wanted to talk about, and the world at that time and afterwards was, I don't know, just at obviously a standstill and lockdown. And it allowed for people to sort of really reflect on themselves and also just like what's going on in the world, and just like basically have that moment to sort of pause and be like, fuck, okay, this isn't healthy. Like, I don't know, I saw this interesting video that this person did, and it was like, imagine like you just wouldn't have the bands like from history that we have if they had Instagram at that point. Like imagine Tom York doing a fucking reel being like, hey guys, just written the summer 2024 anthem of the year, or whatever. Like, I mean, this is all words from this person's video, and it was just like, yeah, that's so true. Like, Radiohead would just not have become what they are. And I don't know, it just, you don't have the same kind of like freedom to just like completely detach from your audience when you're writing and like just be in your like bubble, because you have to like film yourself writing, or you have to like update all the time. And it's like, ideally I would, I don't know, go into like a cave that has no Wi-Fi or any kind of light and just write music and be left alone and come out of that cave in 3 months time. And
you know, our imaginations are like so fucking powerful. You know, I think we can sort of disrespect how powerful our brains are most of the time. And when you get a record and you've got the artwork, the front and the back, and you've got the insert, and then maybe there's 1 or 2 interviews around with the people that play in the group. After that, with that limited stuff back in, you know, past 15 years ago, it would be like your imagination would have to do the rest of the work to build the world of this artist. And that is stuff that, you know, you carry around with you, you know, like.
If you think about like, I'm reading a book on post-rock at the moment, and like the mystery behind Slint, like who the fuck was Slint? Do you know what I mean? They released one album when they were kids, and then just like disbanded, and all of the music that then came after that, like in America at the time, was just like would not have existed if it were. I mean, it could have like happened, but it was almost like filling the space where Slint didn't exist. But I don't know, they just like lived on through just like people's imaginations, and people were kind of taking from that album and creating something like quite vastly different. But I think, that's a good example of like a band having like no information about them whatsoever, and like all you have to go off is like a picture of their heads bobbing above the water, and the rest is yours, which I quite like.
Definitely. And that, because that picture is something that you'd recreate with your mates if you're going to the lake or you're going on a holiday somewhere.
It's so blurry as well. I'm just like, you would not get away with that now. Like, you know, it'd be like everyone has to be in like HD quality, like a million pixels a frame or whatever. Yeah. But it's nice that it was just probably taken on like a shitty camera, and it was just one of their mates, and that's fine and that's sick. And I wish,
101 part-time jobs, 101 part-time jobs. Hey, I love Ride Around, and the video for it is ace. And that, I've always wondered what that estate is, because it's around, you can see it from the Horniman.
Yeah, Dawson's Heights. It's really beautiful up there. Like you can see, all of London. And the architecture of that whole estate is just like so interesting. It's like that proper like brutalist looking, like crazy spaceship.
It looks like it's just being like plopped down there.
Yeah, it's nice as well that it like sits on Sydenham Hill, so like you can see it from like quite a few of the parks and stuff. But I recommend going up there just to like have a look. But
and it adds.
To hang out there, like when we were younger. That would be the place that you'd go and have a tinny with your mates, or like Nunhead Reservoir, which you can see from Dawson's Heights as well. And
it adds that kind of like weird, strangey feeling.
Yeah. I think that was like the point, was to find these places in London that had like a visually beautiful look to them, but also just like felt out of place, leaning into the kind of uncanny of the city that we live in.
Uncanny.
Yeah, Uncanny Valley.
and you wrote Ride Around by looking at the shapes your fingers were doing and not doing like a traditional, is that right? Not doing a traditional chord shape.
Yeah, I think like in lockdown I just had a newfound love for playing the guitar that maybe I just didn't have the time to tap into before, because it was like about playing the songs from the last record, and I don't know, it just felt like really nice to be able to like sit down and see what happens. And I feel like I like to sort of make really weird shapes with my hand whilst I'm playing the guitar. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, have fun with it.
Sort of just do like something weird, and it will probably end up actually just being like a really basic chord, but it's just played in a like interesting way to me. And like
breaking out of those confines of what like the
yeah.
normal is.
Yeah, I don't have like a go-to way of playing guitar. It kind of just like develops over time, and I kind of like that it can constantly change and it's not this like set thing. You know, it's nice to like approach an instrument like you don't know how to play it, and to me that's like more exciting to exist in that way of interpreting it than like knowing all the scales. And I mean, it would be nice to know scales, but I don't know, maybe it like allows for a bit more freedom when you don't really know what it is you're doing, but you like it. So I kind of wanted to tap into those like feelings, because I feel like when you set yourself a task of like writing a song, it's kind of like counterproductive in a way, because then there's like this pressure. Yeah. So it was about like finding moments to just like feel peaceful with what it is you're doing. And yeah, the kind of present of just like letting things come out and not having any like judgment on them. And I sort of did the same thing with the lyrics. Like, I find it quite difficult to write lyrics. Just, yeah, in general, like knowing what to write about, or I don't know, like, yeah, there's too much judgment before the words have even been allowed to come out a lot of the time. So I'd sort of basically like for quite a while write as soon as I woke up, just like whatever came to me. I had like a notebook on my bedside table and I'd just like write for like 10 minutes or so. And like quite a lot of the time it was nonsense and it was unusable, but you know, I went through all of those like bits of writing and sort of highlighted ideas that I liked, and then like themes started to appear, and then that's how I sort of tapped into like what it is I wanted to say. Because yeah, I feel like when you really try and like you set yourself the task of like trying to think like what am I going to write about it?
You're almost tricking yourself into being truthful.
Yeah. So it was nice to be a bit like weirder with it this time and have the time as well to like really apply yourself to it, like to that kind of method of practice where it didn't feel like there was this pressure.
101.
What's your kind of adult life been like with playing in bands and, you know, have like putting real value on creating art, creating music, writing lyrics? What's the battle been between creating, you know, creativity and playing in bands and, you know, finding ways to pay rent and making sure that you're safe and you've got enough in your bank account?
I guess, I don't know, there's like, well, we live in a house that has too many people. So the rent is relatively cheap. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I could afford to move to, I mean, most people now are paying insane amounts for rent, and I don't really think I could afford to do that. But yeah, I guess like I've had little, I don't know, like I work on commissions for people and stuff, and like luckily it sort of like kind of gets me by. Or yeah, I did like a few jobs, but I mean recently like Go-Go stuff's sort of been kicking off again, so I've signed on.
Good on you. Universal music, universal credit.
Yeah, and I feel like this was something that was very common like in the 70s and 80s, and it was actually like enough to allow you to not have to have a job, and you didn't even necessarily have to exist off of music, but it was enough to allow you to do whatever creative endeavor you wanted to do and be able to like live your life at the same time, which I don't think is asking for too much, to be honest. Government loves to pretend like they have no money and constantly refer to the magic money tree as if we're all morons, but at the end of the day they have a net stock of millions and millions of pounds that they lead you to believe they don't, but they just want to use that for things that increase the wealth of those that already have wealth and decrease the small amounts of money that people would be getting from universal credit in order to just feed themselves. And that's been going on for so long. And because they're led by that agenda, they're going to obviously, infiltrate the media to make you believe that universal credit is bad and anyone that's on it are lazy and they just need to get a job and they just need to get up off their asses. And it's like, well, a lot of the time that's not possible for a lot of people for given reasons, and that's okay. And they don't want to normalize it because it doesn't fit with what they're trying to do, which is to get rid of it and to not have to hand out money to people. But they can afford to, and they can afford to do it for everyone in this country, actually, because they did do it in lockdown. They managed to somehow find all this money to be able to pay people. They just want us to believe that they can't and make us feel really bad about it. But you've got to see through those lies.
And it's so disorganized. I mean, the amount of companies, the amount of fake companies that started in lockdown, which they actually spent millions giving money to, where, there's these like big time crooks who are stealing like millions of, they're never going to get that money back. And that was because they were disorganized. If there was just more structure and more trust and more accountability, they just fucking seem like fucking idiots.
Yeah, they are.
Anyway.
They think they're untouchable as well. And to an extent they kind of are, but I feel like the power that we have is with like our communities and like our workplaces, because without us, their profits wouldn't exist. That's kind of where our power lies, I think, getting organised, because this government are never going to have our interests at heart.
Getting organised, one thing the left has always been good at.
Yeah, we have though. Like I was watching a documentary about like the miners' strikes. The level of organisation was unreal.
Right.
They'd have people like driving, I can't remember what they would call them, but like pockets of miners going to different parts of the UK to basically picket other mines to try and get those workers on board. And you just had like all of these like dispersed kind of like groups of people going around making sure that this thing worked. And it did to an extent, but like, yeah, I kind of feel like there was at that point a real crackdown on unions, and Margaret Thatcher obviously made it her mission to destroy what she could. But the fact that the government felt they needed to do that shows that they were scared of the power that does lie with the people. I guess like the far right are just like led by a really simple and wrong idea of the world. And it's just being racist. So like, if that's the only thing that you have to believe in, then I guess like you can find other morons that think like you, and that will be relatively easy. But what we're trying to do is actually like change for the better, and that takes a lot of like thinking and work. And
it's nuanced.
Yeah, it's so nuanced. There's so many layers to it. At the end of it, I guess it's just about working together and learning from each other and being open to like learning as well, and not kind of
this is it.
We know everything,
I think that's one of the best things we can do as we as we get older, as we grow up, is like, okay, try and learn and make ourselves open, make ourselves like a wide open window to get as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it. It's good chat. I've had fun.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I enjoyed it as well.
Good.
Thanks for asking me to do this.
Oh, of course. I feel like maybe I'm putting you on the spot with this a little bit, but one of the things I love to have, I love hearing those sorts of stories of work mistakes, of fucking up in the workplace.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I used to work for this charity as like a support worker for autistic children and young adults. And basically I was working in like a group setting, and when you're working in a group setting, you've got obviously like quite a few kids coming into the club, and it's like a one-on-one support work. So you have your child that you're looking after for that session, and you basically well, because I'd never worked there before, like I'd never met any of the kids. So they have like sheets that basically tell you about like their triggers, their loves, their hates, and just so you can like get to know the basics of who they are before you start working with them, which is really important, I guess. But I got given the wrong one. So I was looking out for all the wrong triggers. And I can't remember, I don't know, the triggers were random, but it was like, there was one that was like, don't let him be near like any kind of like water, so like paddling pools, like go in and wash his hands with him, because otherwise he loves water. He's like so excited by water. And we'll just sort of like get really wet. So didn't know that. Left him by a paddling pool for a second and he was like soaking wet. So we had to put him in these like oversized, like lost property clothes, and I felt awful. And so I was like, okay, let's go outside and let's relax in the sun, maybe like dry up a bit. Let's get on this trampoline and we'll just have this like relaxing moment. And, you know, I got these bean bags out and we were sort of lying on the bean bags on the trampoline. Next thing I know, he's opened the beanbag casing and all the beans have come out. And so now he's like jumping on the trampoline with all of these beans and I'm just like a mess. I'm like, I have fully fucked this. And I was sort of trying to clean them as everyone inside was like laughing at me. And I was just like, this is just hilarious. Like the look of this is, it's a beautiful image.
Bit of chaos.
It was a chaotic day, but I loved it as well. It was great. And he had fun as well, which was the main thing. He got to do all the things that he shouldn't have. Every day would be so different at that work. Like, I mean, meeting different kids, or like the kids that I'd give my main support to, just like allowing me to see the world in like such a different way. Like, and being fully immersed in things that I would never really think about before. And like, it's the kind of job that you only ever want to get better at, and you're constantly thinking about in like a really healthy way, where you're like, how can I improve this, how can I improve that? And it felt like really motivating, and just I recommend it. It's great.
So there was Lottie from Goat Girl. Their new record, Below the Waist, is coming out on the 7th of June. That's next Friday. You can pick it up from any independent record store. It's going to be a great record. I'm looking forward to it. Cheers for listening to this episode of 101 Part-Time Jobs. If you liked that, if you want to get notified as and when we put out episodes, you can subscribe wherever you're listening to this, maybe on Spotify or Apple. We put out 2 episodes every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they're always great guests, bands that I think are good anyway. Cheers for listening. Shout out to our sponsors that allow us to do the show. DistroKid is a place where you can put out your own records. If you know someone, or if you play in a band, maybe your niece or nephew or work colleague plays in a band, puts out whatever kind of music they feel like but want to release it themselves, they can by going to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod, and they get 30% off their first year. They can join 1 million other artists, other users around the world, putting out their own records online, getting it on Spotify, Apple, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, making their own royalties. 30% off their first year by heading to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod.
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.
101 part-time jobs, part-time jobs, part-time jobs, 101 part-time jobs, 101 part-time jobs, part-time jobs, part-time jobs, 101 part-time jobs, 100 part-time jobs, 101 part-time jobs, 101 part-time jobs, 101 part-time jobs.
Everyone is talking about magnesium. It's all you hear about. But why? What do we know about magnesium? Well, magnesium is the #1 mineral that 75% of Americans are deficient in. If you are a woman over 35, magnesium will help you rediscover balance, energy, and vitality. Magnesium supports more than 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including those involved in hormonal balance. From functional medicine doctors to mental well-being and female hormone experts, we all know that magnesium is the one mineral to improve all aspects of well-being and health. But which one? Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers, the trusted choice recommended by leading experts with 7 best-absorbed forms of magnesium to ensure your body receives the support it needs for overall well-being. Go to bioptimizers.com/balance today and use code BALANCE10 for 10% off. Support your journey to wellness at bioptimizers.com/balance. Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers, your foundation to optimal health and vitality.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash.
Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say, your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.